Hello and welcome to another study of the Psalms. My name is Carl Santos. I'm the pastor here at New City Church in Calgary. Today is June 10th, 2020. It's a Wednesday, and as you will know if you've been following along, we'll be ending this series on this Friday, coming up in a couple of days. So on June 12th, after having done 40 Psalms by the time we're done, which will be a great feat for us. And but today we're taking a look at Psalm 98. Again, another request. So we're looking forward to that. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. God, thank you for Psalm 98 that's full of joy and worship and triumph. God, we need those moments in our lives. There's some days where we don't want to lay burdens at your feet, that we feel so filled, so satisfied by you and your spirit that we just want to cry out to you, God. And that's what one of these Psalms, this is one of those Psalms, Lord, that reminds us of that. God, thank you for that. Thank you for all that you do for us, Lord. Thank you for all that you've done for our ancestors, Lord. As we grafted into the family of Israel, into your people as Christians, their history becomes our history. The Exodus becomes our liberation from slavery in a way as well. So thank you for all that. That makes you worthy of being sung to. God, we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so just so you know, before we get going, it is a crazy morning here at the house. The kids are excited. My littlest one is running around screaming a lot for some reason, happy and wanting to go out. So it might just get a little bit hairy in here. I don't know. I can hear him outside the door. But anyway, let's jump in. Let me read Psalm 98 to you. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. The Lord has made known his salvation. He has revealed his righteousness in the sight of the nations. He has remembered his steadfast love and faithfulness to the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Sing praises to the Lord with the lyre and with the lyre and the sound of melody, with trumpets and the sound of the horn. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up here on my thing. Make a joyful noise before the King, the Lord. Let the sea roar and all that fills it, the world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the hills sing for joy together before the Lord. For he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity. Okay. Sometimes you read out loud and you just struggle to get through things. I don't know why. That was a tough one to read, even though I read it this minute ago. Anyway, so Psalm 98. This is one of those psalms that is loaded with praise. There's not, other psalms in the recent in the Psalter as well are like this, but oftentimes they'll have some kind of a petition or they'll have some kind of instruction. But in this one, it's pure praise. And again, if we want to break it down, I think it's pretty straightforward how this one breaks down. If you look at, again, the sections that your Bible will neatly break up, it breaks it up into equal-ish parts of 3 verses each. So there's the verses, let me get my red out here. So verses 1 to 3 make up part 1. Then verses, let me put the little lines there. Then verses 4, 5, and 6. Then 7, 8, and 9. Now they're equal as far as number of verses, but not equal in the number of words, obviously. So some of them are longer. Obviously, verse 3 is a bit longer and so on. But that's essentially what it is. And if you look at how we break those down, we'll see as we go. But I think there is a progression here, though it's not a perfect one, but it's a pretty good breakdown. So first, it is us. This is about us singing. Okay, humanity, humans. The next one is about the earth, meaning peoples in the earth, all the peoples of the earth, okay? And then this one is more so, but not exclusively, creation. And it's almost like it's a building song. In a song, sometimes the harmonies build, more singers come in, different octaves, and it becomes, and different keys, and it's beautiful with the way it builds a harmony. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here. It's the building of a harmony, that it starts with humanity's voice, then all the church's voice. The people, the believers, then all the peoples of the earth and the nations, and then all creation joins. And it's this rising song. I think that's what I feel in it. Well, let's see if it's accurate. So, here the song begins. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. That's been a battle cry of Christians for so long, hasn't it? That we are called continually to be rewriting the hymnal and the psalter. Not literally. Our words and our songs today are not usually very good theologically. Many of them are not great. I don't want to suggest that all of our songs are scripture, but there is a sense in which, and some people would disagree. Some people think you should only read the Psalms and only sing the Psalms in church. And I can understand where they're going. It's kind of something theological called the Regulative Principle, that Scripture tells you exactly how to worship God and you don't deviate from it. So if the Bible says the Psalms were what were used, that is what is used. I'm not that firm on that portion of the Regulative Principle. I don't believe that's the case. I think there is a sense in which every generation is to sing the songs, yes, that connect us with history. Yes, that connect us with Scripture. But I think that God is active in doing something in the church today and through every generation. And I think it's right that we enshrine those acts of God in songs. Now, it doesn't necessarily become Scripture, of course, but it still is something that encapsulates our unique addition to the harmony of creation. I think every generation's songs become the fingerprint of what God has done in that generation for those people, and it becomes further testimony for the church universal. So we could actually learn something, even though it's very difficult and we don't tend to do it, by looking at the songs that are being sung around the world in our time. Not just here, but what are they being sung in the Philippines or in Nigeria or in Ecuador? What is it that the world is singing here? What is God doing in the midst of these peoples? Now, we do have to be careful because not all songs are great reflections of God. Like I said, sometimes theology is bad. But nonetheless, this idea of a new song, I think, is a generational witness to who God is, what he is doing, what he has done, and so on. So we are called to sing a new song to the Lord. For he has done marvelous things. And he has. God has done wonderful things, and we look at those, and that's what we sing about, isn't it? We often sing about what God has done. For his right hand and by his holy arm, have worked salvation for him. And these are signs of power, right? The right hand is a sign of power, as we know. His holy arm, his perfect arm, have worked salvation for him. It's the way he saves. He saves us by these things. His power, his might, his holiness save us. And it's a testimony of that, of what we sing out as a church. Because remember, this is the first part is the church. So I'm going to put that more clearly here. It's the church when I say us. And the reason that's the people of God singing out is because we are the ones who have most reason to cry out. We are the ones who know who he is. We're the ones who know what he has done. And so we are the ones who are the prime witnesses of who God is. We know he has worked salvation for us. The Lord has made known his salvation. He has revealed his righteousness in the sight of the nations. Now, this again, how you can adopt it to the New Testament so well, because of course Christ is this. Christ is the way he has made known his revelation today. It's Hebrews, right? That says that in the old times, in the olden days, God spoke to the church and to the world through the prophets. But now he speaks through Jesus Christ. And this is, so we see both. God had made known his words to the ancients, to the writers of the psalm, through various means, through the prophets, through his actions at the Red Sea, and depending on when this is being written, it could even be referring to any number of the many times God rescued Israel from Assyria under Hezekiah, or from Babylon and the exile, any number of things. So God has made known his salvation. And that's a great characteristic of our God as well, isn't it? That he does not just say who he is, but he makes known who he is. It's the revelation of God. He has revealed his righteousness in the sight of the nations. He wants to be known. He wants to be worshipped so that we may have joy in him and peace. He has remembered his steadfast love. Oh, my friend. This is the good old word, hesed. Remember that word? This is going to be drilled into you by the end of the series. But that's what it is. He has remembered his faithfulness. That's wonderful. I've said it before. That's what he says whenever God looks back and is angry with Israel, but somebody appeals to him and it says that he remembered his covenant with Abraham. He remembered his covenant with Isaac and Jacob. He is doing this. He's saying, not literally, God doesn't forget, But in our memory, in our experience, what it's like is as if God is saying, I remember now. I'm faithful to them because of my covenant, because I love them, not just because of how they behave. And because he remembers his steadfast love, we're not dead. Because if it wasn't for his faithfulness, in spite of our sin, we would have no leg to stand on. His faithfulness to the house of Israel, to which we have been grafted in graciously. All the ends of the earth have seen the salvation of our God. So his revelation is, okay, I want to say, I'm going to get into trouble with some people if I'm not careful. Revelation is universal, though the acceptance of people is not. He has revealed himself to all the world. Everybody knows who Christ is. Everybody has a sense of who God is. This is Romans 1. Doesn't mean everybody's going to be saved, of course. I believe that's not the case. I'm not a universalist. I do not believe that everybody has to have heard the specific gospel in order to have made the right to be saved or not, because you have to make a choice of that. That what we would call the gospel. I think Romans is right that all of us know who God is. We all know we are sinful. We all know we owe something to someone, and we repress and suppress that energy or that information. So he's revealed himself to all. So that's our cry. And then joining the chorus, the song of humanity, comes the earth, all the peoples. And we know it's peoples because if you remember the time I talked about Psalm 67, there I mentioned something. Gee, where is it here? That's peoples. It's at the end. Actually, it's at the end, isn't it? The peoples here at the bottom. But anytime the psalmist mentions peoples, plural, he's referring to the world. If he says people, singular, he's referring to Israel. The people of God, singular, is Israel. They are one people for God. The peoples, plural, always refers to the nations. So we know he's talking about something grander than just the church. This is a song where all creation will jump into the chorus of worship. But now, make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Okay? Break forth into joyous song and sing praises. Sing praises, and it's a big emphasis here, obviously, on singing, right? A joyful noise into joyous song, sing praises with the lyre and the sound of melody, trumpets, sound of the horn, joyful noise before the king. So this is, again, I often read the Psalms and get a bit indicted, a bit accused here in my heart about my own group of, my own tribe, the Presbyterian world, that can tend to be a little bit stifled in their worship sometimes, feel quite subdued, quite restricted, quite conservative. Now, I'm not saying they're not worshiping. People can worship without throwing their arms in the air and screaming. But there is something about letting loose at times. And this is certainly what's being described here. He's calling the entire world to use everything, to use their voices, to use instruments, to make noise, and to direct it all to God, to the King. There should be no other object of our singing. Even if we sing love songs about human interactions and relationships, which I think are okay. I think it's right that we sing about our own experience. Maybe not in worship, but it's right that we sing about our experience in art in general. But ultimately, always, everything we do ought to be directed towards God and how we see even our relationships in God, how we see our financial relationships in God, and so on. So, all this for our King. And then lastly, in comes creation to join the chorus and to make this full sound. Let the sea roar. So let me get a different color of a thing here. Let the sea roar and all that fills it. All that fills it. The world and those who dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands. Let the hills sing for joy before the Lord. For he comes to judge the earth. He will judge the world with righteousness and the peoples with equity. Now, a few things going on here, right? Obviously. One is the call again that all creation will sing. All creation will sing. This is a given. It's a truth. It's going to happen. All creation will worship God again as it was intended to. Because right now we know again in Romans that all creation groans awaiting the revelation of the Son of Men. Meaning that all of creation was impacted by the fall. And as a result, It groans to an extent. It wants to be in harmony again. It's almost as if the Bible is saying the animals want to be at peace again. It's almost like saying the ground does not want to yield thorns and thistles to our hard work and our desire to cultivate the earth. It wants to cooperate, but it can't. Now, that's personifying creation. I don't think creation thinks that way. And yet, that's the imagery we get in the Psalms, which is poetry. So you're going to see personification sometimes of things, because obviously the seas don't clap, or rivers don't clap their hands. Not literally, they don't even have hands. But there's that poetic image. Okay? And then, it's amazing. Look at why we worship. We worship because God comes to judge. And this can sound harsh, because in judgment, we know some people will be found guilty, some people will be punished. And this is a dark day. Read the book of Amos and all the prophets and Joel, and you're going to see that the day of the Lord, the coming of God, is not going to be pleasant for a lot of people. So how is it that the church is called to long for that day and to worship at the sight of it? Well, the reason is it is justice coming. And this is something the entire human heart desires. And because we all yearn for justice, and this is precisely what we cry out to when we say, "Your kingdom come," where we want Christ to come and judge things, to get it right. And the strange and ironic part is even the sinners, even the ones who don't and will not ever accept Christ, yearn for judgment. And because they yearn for judgment, they're actually calling their own judgment on themselves. Because they're crying out for a day of judgment. Again, happens in the prophets, where Israel cries for the day of the Lord, and the prophets warn them. Do you know what you're getting if you cry for the day of the Lord? And yet everyone yearns for justice. We all do. The challenge is why or how we think we're going to get justice. Some think they're going to get it because they've been good. Some people think, well, I've had a bad life, I haven't been a good person, but deep down I'm okay. Or I did this one good thing, and that's enough, isn't it? And we're basically trying to tip the scales in our favor. And those sorts of things are not scriptural. They're not the biblical. They're not the Bible. It is not the gospel. You cannot save yourself. We yearn for the day of judgment, much like the world, but in a greater way, in hope, because we know it comes, and it'll be the restoration and the renewal of everything, and it'll be a time when we'll finally be with our King, and there will be no more of the struggles we have. There will be peace in its richest, fullest sense that we actually don't quite grasp at the moment. And we yearn for it, even though it will be a dark day for some, yet we yearn for it, because it'll be a day when God and Christ are put in their proper place. And Christ will finally reign. Right now, he reigns in heaven wounded. Remember when he shows up on the Damascus road? Why do you persecute me? He yet is persecuted because he is one of us. He represents us. He's up there with us, interceding for us. So as you and I are persecuted, so is Christ. But when he comes again, he'll be triumphant. And when he comes then, judgment will happen, but he'll be on his throne. And that's what we yearn for. We yearn for the consolidation of creation. And that's what this is calling us to do. And that's why we see judgment differently, because judgment is our King reigning. That says reigning, even if it doesn't look like it. So that's Psalm 98. Thank you so much for joining us this morning or this afternoon or this evening, whenever you happen to be watching this. And tomorrow we're going to take a look at, I'm gonna do something weird. I'm gonna look at the very shortest psalm in the entire Psalter. Psalm 117 is only 2 verses. So it may be a very short video, but let's do that. I figure we haven't done it, and it would be nice to at least say, hey, I kind of looked in a little more detail at those 2 verses. So we'll do Psalm 117. And until tomorrow, have a great day. Stay close to God and serve him in this incredible world he's given us. Thanks. See you tomorrow.